everyone and welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you how can you create your own finance chatbot which can generate candlestick chart for you, and this chart you can generate for any stock and for any given duration. So in order to get started with this, first of all I would like to point you to some material which could be very useful for you. So the very first thing is this particular video. So this is the video in which I have explained candlestick charts using Yahoo Finance API, and it was created more than 2 years back. So what this video is talking about is it will explain you what these candlestick charts are or how to utilize the Yahoo Finance API. So just have a quick watch at this video and you will get a pretty much good idea about what this particular topic is all about. Well, so if you are still interested in knowing more about the API documentation, then I can point you to this particular URL. So here you can get all the required information for Yahoo Finance API, what all things it can do and what all functions it has which we can use it. So this is the second thing, and the third thing is we are going to use Ollama. So this is the new feature which was released 2 days back, and what this particular blog is saying is now Ollama supports function calling. So earlier there was no function calling, but this feature got released 2 days back, and that's the motivation why I'm using this particular use case, because I believe that this is the very interesting and the most appealing use case which anyone would like to work for. So I'm taking the use case of candlestick, but of course you can use anything like what was the last price, or if you want to do any prediction kind of thing, that also you can do it. But using Ollama, we are going to use its function calling feature, and here's the sample code. So we will be utilizing the similar thing, but we will try to tweak this sample based on our own requirement. So just go through this blog if you want to know more about it. And the second thing here is the model which you are using. So I don't want to go for any paid service. That's the reason I thought to use one of these models, and you can choose any one of these, but the one I am going is not very big, and I will stick to Llama 3.2. So it is just like 3 billion, 1 billion model. So you can choose any one of these, whatever you want. But the main thing which you need to keep in mind is it should support tooling. So that's the reason I selected these tools, and then it is listing all the models over here. Well, so this is the background, and next thing which we need to do is we need to get this Ollama onto a local machine. So for that you can just click on the download, and here you will get the link to download. So whether it is Mac OS, Linux or Windows, whatever you have, just go ahead and download it. In my case I downloaded it for Windows. So let me show you how you can download this model. So I am on my VS Code, and the very first thing which I'm going to do is I need to create a virtual environment and then get into it. So I have already created a virtual environment and now I'm just activating it. So this is the first thing, and the second thing, like I said, you need to get the model downloaded to your local machine. So for that, what you can do is you need to run a command which is Ollama pull and then your model name, whatever the model you are using. So make sure that you are grabbing the correct model name from the documentation. So in my case it is Llama 3.2, and it has started pulling the manifest, and you can see that it's completed 100%. It will take some time for you if you are doing it for the very first time, but for me it was already present in my machine, so it didn't take much time. Okay, now we have the model ready. It means we can go ahead and just start typing in some code. So the very first thing we need to do is we need to install the required packages. So these are the few packages we need. First one is the Yahoo Finance, then we have Ollama. I am also using Plotly because I want to draw charts or plot some candlestick diagrams. So, but again, it's not hard and fast rule that you will go with Yahoo Finance. You can use any API, you can have your own local implementation, but the idea behind this video is to show you how you can utilize the tooling feature of Ollama. So now I'm going to, so I have already installed these in my virtual environment. So it didn't take much time. Now let's go ahead and import all the required packages. So very first one I would like to do is Ollama. Then we need to go for Yahoo Finance. Third we need is for we may also need Pandas, so let me quickly import that as well. And we need something for Plotly, so I would say import plotly.graph objects, and we'll just say PLGO, whatever you want this alias to be. Let's go ahead with this. And yeah, most important, we need something to maintain our dictionary and the callable part. So I would simply get in. We can remove it later on if we don't need, but let's get it first. And we have callable. Okay, I think these are sufficient for us to get started. Next thing is what it is saying. Let me quickly have a look at it. Import. I will quickly restart my VS Code. Perhaps something is not correct with this. Just give me a second and I will restart it. You can see that I restarted my VS Code. Looks like something was messed up with that. So, and now it is able to detect all the references. Next thing we need to do is we need to create a function which can generate the candlestick chart for us. So let me quickly do that. So I'm going to name it create candlestick chart. And it is going to take two parameters. The first one is the symbol, or the what we call it as stock symbol, which is like MSFT for Microsoft and all those things. So I'm going to use the word symbol here. Then the second parameter would be the duration, for what duration you want your chart to be plotted. So that is again the integer thing. And I'm going to create an object for the ticker. So let's say yfinance dot ticker, and it is going to take the symbol for which we want the data to be grabbed. So now we have this. I'm going to create a data frame, and in that data frame I'm going to hold all the data for the given duration. So for that, what we can do is stock.history. So all these methods, if you will look at the documentation, you will get to know. And here we need to say for what period we want. So it is the same variable which we grabbed here. So I'm going to paste it over here. And do keep in mind here that if you are generating, so you cannot generate the candlestick chart for the random duration like 7 days or 12 days. You have to be very particular about it. So what I'm doing is, if you are going with the days, you have to append D, but if you are going with month, you have to put MO. So that is the thing you need to keep in mind. Now at this point, you have your historical data ready with you. So if you want, you can save this data into your CSV file and then you can read it back whenever you want. But in this case, let's not save it. We will do everything in memory. Now I'm going to create an object for candlestick. So for that, we will be using Plotly's graph object. So I'm saying plotly.candlestick. And here we need to pass in all the parameters. So we all know that for candlestick, we have 4 key parameters: low, high, open, and the close. So low will tell you the lowest amount or the price for that duration. High will tell you the highest price in that duration. Open will tell you at what price the candle start generating or start creating, and the closing price is the closing price of that particular duration. So all these things I have explained in that previous video. So of course you can go and check that out. And here I'm going to define what is my x-axis, what is my low parameter, and how to grab that from the data frame. So inside my data frame, I have low, high, close, and open. There are a few more columns, but let's grab the ones in which we are interested. So we have low, then we do have high. I will quickly type it. So this is my high. Then like I said, we need for open and close as well. So I would say for close it is close, and for open it is the open column which we want to grab. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to associate this particular plot parameters to our figure. So for that, what we can do, we can create an object named fig, and we'll say pl.figure, and inside that we have certain parameters here you can see. So we can go ahead and set this one the data parameter, and data is nothing but the one which we just created above, and it is in the form of a collection. So just I'm passing this particular parameter. So we are good with this. The last two things is to show our chart and to update the axis or the parameters, like what is your x-axis, what is your y-axis. So for doing that, we can simply say update layout. So you can see that I'm relying mostly on the IntelliSense because I don't use this API frequently, so I'm not very much sure what all functions we have. So here you need to define like what would be your title. So what we can do here is we can just use the symbol, and I will say stock price. Then next thing is we need to define something for our, we need to give comma over here as well as this one. Then we need to define our x-axis. So for x-axis, I would say x-axis title. Let's see if there is anything wrong, then we can change it later, because like I said, I'm not very much sure about the parameters it takes. So it should be title, and here I would say let's give it price, and inside this I would simply say USD. Price would be in USD. Okay, so and the final thing is fig.show. Let me execute this one so that we'll get to know if there are any errors. So perfect, we are good with that. The next thing is, now we have our import statements ready, we have our function ready which can generate the chart for us. Next thing is we need a prompt. So for prompt, what we can define is, let's say draw a candlestick. Let's be specific. Draw a candlestick chart of Microsoft stock for, I would say, 5 days. Let's go with this one first. So this is the prompt which you can provide in your natural language, and once this prompt is defined, I'm going to execute this cell as well. And the final part is about the function calling, which is the most important thing of this particular demo. So here we can what we can do is, like we have done before also in our videos. So here we need to define what all functions we have so that we can use those functions during our chat interaction with the LLM. So I'm going to name that variable as a functions, and this would be the dict which is going to hold the list of my all the functions which I want to utilize. So as of now we have just one. I will take this one, but I will show you in a while how you can use multiple functions as well. So first of all, you need to define the name and the mapping, which is your actual function. So this is what your functions will contain. Next thing is you need to frame the messages and the chat construct. So for that, we are going to create a variable named response, and we'll call the Ollama.chat. Now again, how I'm getting this chat function and all those, that you can check in the documentation. Like I said, there is a sample provided with the addition, example of addition, how will you add two numbers. So similar kind of stuff we can do it over here. So the first parameter you need to define is the model. So in our case, it is Llama3.2. Second parameter which we need to define is messages. So messages is the same format. We need to define the role and the content, and I'm going to say role would be user, and the second thing which we need to define is the content. So the content in our case would be the prompt provided by the above cell, which is this one. So now we have this thing ready. Last thing is we need to associate the tools, because without the tools it's not going to invoke any of these things. So here I am saying tools, and just provide that collection, which is again, this is again a dictionary. So you can, I will copy it. Okay, so this is our tool settings, wherein you need to provide all the possible functions which you want to execute. So I'm going to run this cell as well, and by the time it is running, let's go ahead and write another code. Now we have the checked construct ready. What we want is, we want to know whether our function was really required for this particular prompt or not. So for doing for that, we need to check whether tool calls was made, and if the tools call was made, was that for my particular function, which was create candlestick chart. So let's say response dot message, and then we have tools call, I think tool calls. So if we have something related to the tools, then we can go ahead and fetch those individual tools for which this was done. So I'm going to grab this so that we can save some time. Okay, and here I would say the function which we want to invoke. So we want the name of that function which the system wants to invoke, or the LLM wants to invoke. So here I am saying functions, which is the collection we have created, and from that collection we want to grab the function name which was detected by the LLM or the Ollama in this case. So I would say function.name. Okay, now let's go ahead and check if it contains something or not. So I would say if there is inside this function invoke, then we will go ahead and simply make a call. So let me print it here itself, and I would say function invoke, and we need to add double star here, tool dot function dot arguments. So let me execute this as well, and let's see if it's working or we need to troubleshoot a bit. So looks like, oh, we did some typo. Tool dot function dot arguments, and let me have a quick look at it. This looks, it is complaining something about the title, and the title we mentioned off. So here we missed one T. Let me execute this cell. I will re-execute all of these. Now, so we got the response, and here you can see. So this is the title which we have given. On the left hand side is the price, and on the bottom you will see the date. And this is the chart for 5 days window. Two were the holidays, so that's why it is saying. And if you will look closely at this chart, let's look at this particular candle. So like I said, every candle will have high, low, open and close, and that's what you can see, and it is very nicely showing you the tooltip as well, so it will help you analyze and visualize much better. So in this case it's just like 5. Let me change it a bit to 3 months. And like I said, if you are using days, you have to do D. If you are using months, you have to do MO. These things you can definitely conditionalize in your code, but it's just demo, so I'm not spending much time on adding those if else conditions. So let's run it. 90, I messed up something. Let me show you one more thing. It's good that we got an error here. So what this error is saying is that 90 mo is invalid, must be 1D, 5D, something like this. And why it is throwing this is because when we are dealing or the working with the functions, then you need to be very specific about your parameters. And if you will look at this one, we are saying duration in days. It means LLM knows that whatever the number we are giving, it's in days. So how can we get rid of it? So if you want to work on this, or if you want to get rid of such issues, then your variable name should be defined accordingly. So rather than saying duration in days, I would simply say duration, and I would name it like this. So let's try this one and see if it works this time. So there are a lot many learnings in this particular video. Let's try to grab those. And here this time you can see the chart is ready for us. So it is from September, October, and then November, because we said that create a candlestick chart for 3 months. So if I reiterate everything for you, then in a nutshell what we did basically is we defined these libraries and we pulled the we pulled the Llama3.2 from Ollama using our pull command, and then we defined the function here, which is create candlestick chart. We defined a prompt. We defined a collection in which we will be pushing all the functions. So let's say tomorrow if you are having another function, then you can just define that function over here with the name. So it's as simple as that. Doesn't matter how many functions you are having, but this map has to be correctly defined. So once you have your function map ready, next thing is you need to make a call to the chat endpoint, which is from the Ollama, which takes few key parameters. The first one is the model in which you are interested or you want to use to invoke or chat. Then second thing is the messages, wherein you need to provide the role and the content. Then you need to provide the collection against the tools variable. So these three are the key parameters. There are a lot many, but I think these three would suffice for any basic chatbot. Then once we have our chat response ready, we will go and see if there was any tools call required or not. If it was required, then we will say, okay, which tool was it or which function do you want to invoke? And this line will give you the function which we need to invoke. And once we have that function, we will simply make a call to that function and we will have the response ready. And coming on to the troubleshooting part, which we did few minutes back, is so earlier we were having here duration in days. It means LLM knows that this variable signifies something in the days, and same thing it is asking over here. So as soon as I change my variable name, it predicted correctly. So it doesn't matter now I'm giving here D or MO. It will still work because duration could be either in minutes, seconds, months, whatever we want. So that's all I have for today, and I hope you enjoyed watching this, and do let me know what are such common use cases which you are using in your day-to-day life. Thanks for watching.